of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio
It's
station.
Love Jones. It's Love Jones. Check us out as we combine our hit music with a love story. Live with Candy. It's Love Jones. Call in and participate at 326-0271 on Global Radio 99.5 FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, Refugee Camp presents
For all relationships, for regrets, for disagreements, for breaking up and making up, for all those out there jonesing for love, it's Love Jones right here, right now on Global 99.5. Good morning. It's a talk back, clap back, that's back, all back Tuesday. Somebody had Cheerios this morning. Good morning and welcome to Love Jones right here on Global 99.5, of course. Good morning to all of our internet Facebook watchers and those of you that will see the vid a little bit later on. Before I do anything, let me get all the business out of the way. You can call us live at 326-0272 or 1. Of course, you can text or WhatsApp at 812-1787. The 431 number is experiencing some technical difficulties. So you can go ahead again at 812-1787. Today is a day where we're going to be talking about a variance of stuff, but it's typically based on self-love and how to find the balance that you need in loving yourself, being anchored to that love, and don't float off within or delve so deep into somebody that you lose yourself. So that's what we're going to be getting in today. I have a feeling it's going to open up quite a bit of worms.
You're looking at me though.
I'm looking at you because you're looking at me. You're looking at me, so I'm looking at you.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got the lovely Alexis Bethel back in with us. As promised, she said she would grace us at least every other Tuesday so that we can, people really enjoyed the show that we did last time. It had a lot of different views. People learned a lot. So I'm hoping that we can continue on that effort. Magic Mike. Whoop, whoop. Hello.
Wiggle-link.
Yeah. Yeah, D isn't in today.
What's going
on? Like I said, it's a lot of different stuff that I'm hoping that we can cover today, but you mentioned something yesterday, and I thought it was a really great idea. And I was speaking to Alexis before we got on air in reference to the letter that we got yesterday, with the lady that was saying that, and it bothered me quite a bit yesterday. You always hope that the advice that you give, you're not sure that someone will take it, but if someone has written into you, they respect your opinion enough to not just share of themselves and be vulnerable, but to kind of put it out there for everybody. And I know that took a lot to open up something so raw and so private. And she talked about being in an abusive marriage for 6 years and being hit almost every day. She has physical scars. She had a broken jaw. Her nose had been broken at one point. She has 1 or 2 different scars and lacerations that she suffered. And of course, the mental scarring and the emotional scars will live on as long as she breathes. I'm certain she'll be dealing with some stuff. And so her situation, for a recap, was after being in this marriage for 6 years, dating the man previous to, she gets to a point where it's reevaluating herself and the way that she's loving herself and the kind of mother that she's being due to the situation. And she starts reading self-help books and trying to strengthen herself. And then she figures, I need some extra help. So spiritually, I'm going to try and build. And her way of doing that, it may not be everybody's way because everybody's spiritual in a different kind of way. But her thing was going to church and building with that and finding a sense of support within her church family. And with doing that, she says to him, look, I can't live like this anymore. Either you're going to come go with me to church and try and find a way to change, or this is going to be done. So he went to church, and she's saying within the last 3 months, she's seen a marked difference, He has not put his hands on her. He's not raised his voice. She can see that he's absolutely trying to change, or she's seen some change. The problem, though, is she's trying to find balance in that love that she has for him and the renewed love that she's found for herself. She's walking on eggshells, afraid that the next argument may lead into him actually putting hands again. And the fear of that physical hurt, as well as knowing, dang, the change didn't take.
Yeah.
You know, that is what she's afraid of, that of building up and wanting this change for so bad for so long. Now she's finally seeing kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. And then if he hits her again with one foul swoop, it destroys everything.
Yeah.
All of the hopes for futuristic things, for him to be a completion as to their family. It's a lot riding on this change. And she's, quote unquote, doing her part by not raising her voice, by not feeling the things that she feels. Obviously, there's resentment and some stuff that they haven't had an opportunity to get into. Like, how come you hit me for all these years? You hurt me. Like, how am I to deal with that? How am I to still love you? There's some stuff she wants to get into, but that fear is what restricts her.
Yeah.
So her question is, what does one do? How do you balance this love that I have for this man and what I want from him for the love that I'm saying that I need for me?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle with it, maybe not in an abusive situation, but I think a lot of people have struggled with, we're told that you're supposed to love this person you're with more than you love yourself. That's what true love is what's been said. So how can you say you truly love someone then, if we're following the cardinal rule, so to speak? If you don't stand by their side through all of these things, if you don't take the things that they dish and give the opportunity for endless change and the possibilities thereof, how do you balance that love that you need for you and the love that you have to exhibit for someone else? How do you do it?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so much bundled into there,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, I mean, there's resentment, there's deep-seated fear. Is this going to take? Is this not going to take? There's a renewed self-love for herself. There's hope for her relationship. But, you know, there's so much. So, I mean, I think the first piece of it that I would say in terms of the resentment and, you know, if it does take, you know, and if it does work out, how could you have done this to me for so long? That's such an important conversation, but it can be tabled for the time being, right? If this, and I'm rooting for this woman, I hope that it works out. And if it does, you have that conversation when you get to it. But right now, you're not even there, right? So kind of putting that on your plate, take it off the plate and focus on what you have to focus on. To me, the biggest thing that you said is this idea of kind of walking on eggshells, right? You can't do that for the rest of your life. I mean, you can, but I mean, what an unhappy place to be for the rest of your life, right? And ultimately, if this man is going to hit you again, then it's going to happen regardless of whether you quote unquote ask for it or not. And you're not asking for it, right? But you get
in
what
her
I'm
mind,
saying. Right. It's going to happen either way. And so the first question that comes to me, and it's a hard question to ask, is if he does lay a hand on you, are you prepared to walk away?
And that's what it boils down to.
Well, you know how I feel about
I
physical
know.
abuse, so that's
Yeah. And I think, you know, sitting here and on this side, we all say, well, that's how we feel, you know, that's how I feel too. But I mean, I think as we've learned and as we've heard and as we've interacted with people that have been there, it's not that simple being on the other side of it. You know, and it's such a complex thing to deal with. But the other thing that comes to my mind about this idea of loving somebody more than you love yourself, I somewhat struggle with it in general, but I try to think about it like in the context of my relationship and is that true and does that work and all these things. And somebody said to me a while ago, and I wish I could remember who it was, I can't. They said a relationship isn't 50-50. You're not going to the middle to meet somebody. A relationship is 100-100. You have to be willing to cross over to their side. Now, that works if both people are going 100-100. If they're not, it cannot work. You cannot put somebody ahead of you if they're not willing to put you ahead of them.
And isn't that what I always say?
no. I love that quote.
I always say the only way that you're going to have a relationship that is equally beneficial is if this person is putting you first and they're making sure that your needs are met and they're loving you 100%. And if you, on the other end, are doing the same for them, you're loving them 100%, you're putting their needs first and making sure that they're taken care of, then everyone is truly happy.
Yeah.
But whenever you have a break in that, even if it's 99%, as small as that may seem to a lot of people, that starts the disintegration of everything else.
Yeah. And I think that also comes from, you know, a mutual respect for each other. I'm not saying I'm in a perfect relationship, but my relationship is very strong, and it's very strong for a lot of reasons. But one of them being that I've been in some really bad relationships. I luckily have not been hit, but I've been emotionally abused. I've been pushed. I've been, you know, places that I never should have been.
Right.
And after getting out of that, I said, I'm not doing this again. Right. Like, I will not do this again. But, you know, now I think about it with my husband. I think about the average day or the average week. And if I'm completely consumed and I'm so overburdened all these things, and I'm like, can you just deal with this? And he says, I'll do it. And then when he needs me to do that, I do it. And that's built out of a mutual respect for each other and an understanding that when the other person needs you, you're willing to do it. But again, it has to be both people.
Yeah. And the problem with it is it very rarely is.
Yeah.
Sad to say, there are more instances where there is the taker in the relationship and there's the giver. And some people are satisfied with that because you just figure it's been my role for so long.
Yeah.
I'm kind of typecast. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
you know, if this is the role that I've always played, how can I possibly play something else? I can't. Most people that are givers couldn't possibly see themselves as takers. You just can't. You can't fathom putting yourself in that position because you just aren't that person. But unfortunately, what we and I wouldn't say unfortunately, I take that back. Fortunately, we have to get to a place where we realize that if you do not demand or and whether that's through your own actions or verbally saying, look, this is what I require and this is what I need. And if you're not fulfilling those needs, then this relationship is not going to work because I'm trying to fulfill everything that you need as best as I can. So why shouldn't I deserve having the same?
Yeah.
You're going to have to take. If you're giving, then you better get to taking as well. And if you're giving and taking equally, then no one's being used.
The question is, though, I mean, I think as far as, and there's two things that came to mind. In the chatter the other day, there was this pyramid. That
LaFrance posted it. I remember.
It said, I guess it was just, anyway, it had Jesus on top,
Right.
husband, and then wife. I didn't go into it to see, because it had some subcategories as well. And the point I'm trying to make is, you know, with regards to what we're talking about and our perception of what love is, you know, I think there needs to be like some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like our approach to marriage, our approach to relationships needs to, from a conscious level and not from a level of religion or, and this is just my, this is just my, you know, this is just the way I see it. I think when we follow the religious path or the Bible, so to speak, I think one, there's misinterpretation, and then two, our perception of love is so marred that we don't even know how to give love or give healthy love because we don't know what it is and we don't know how to receive love.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then
there's that, right. Okay, see, the thing is, and I know we would love to say that we don't want to necessarily go into the religious aspect of it. The problem is it comes up a lot because we live in a Christian nation, and a lot of people subscribe to that, but they do it in a way in which, unfortunately, it's just beneficial for certain things. And what I mean by that is we talk about the quotation, you hear men saying things like, husband, wife, you have to submit to your husband. You know, they use certain quotations that are found within the Bible in order to fulfill certain needs that they want to see filled.
Yeah.
But they leave out the other parts where it says, but you have to love your wife like Christ loves the church. You kind of sweep that part over there. But this part is what I want you to adhere to. This is the part that I want you to deal with. This is the part I want you to pay attention to. And I think that comes in a lot of that when we talk about lost in translation.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big problem when it comes to those kinds of things. And that's why people get on me when I say I don't want to really delve into the religious aspects of it. It's not because I'm not a spiritual person. It's just that there are people that are not, and we have to understand that morality can exist outside of religion. You can be a good person and not be a religious person. You can treat people well, and you can stick to the cardinal rule of, you know, treating someone as you'd want yourself treated without necessarily being an everyday church goer or Sunday goer, you know, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that I am, you know, negating religion. I'm just saying that we have to learn how to love each other outside of that.
Agreed.
You know, because, you know, you look at a lot of people that represent religion, and the base of any religion to me should be love.
Absolutely.
And that's lost.
Right. No, I totally agree. Because, you know, when you hear things like, you know, if God's not in your house, or if Jesus is not a part of your marriage, then it definitely won't work.
It won't work.
You know, I mean, I'm a firm believer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I get your point.
You know,
I think the other thing that's coming up for me is everything, it's about interpretation and it's about intention. So, you know, everybody can interpret a religious text differently, and some people are going to interpret it more literally. Some people are going to take a looser interpretation and say, this is what was meant by it, but I get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What that to me personally matters less than what your intention is. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
If the intention is, I'm going to take the part that benefits me and I'm going to sweep the rest under the rug, then right there you have your answer.
Exactly.
Right? If your intention is, I'm going to interpret this because this is my faith and I'm going to see it for what I believe it's meant to be, and I truly believe that we're supposed to love each other and this is what's meant by it, then that's your intention. But we've all seen people take the intention the other way as well.
Absolutely.
So it's all about, to me, where you're coming from with it. It doesn't have to do necessarily with whether you're religious or not, right? Are you using it for your own gain, or are you using it in the way that it was intended?
Can I ask? Because I think...
Oh, you found it?
I did.
Okay.
It's okay. It has like 3 umbrellas. The top umbrella says Jesus, and that's it in its totality. The second says husband, spiritual lead for the family, provide for the family, love wife like Christ loves the church. And then the third tier is an umbrella that says wife, and it says be a helper to a husband, raise godly children, and submit to husband's authority. That's the natural order of the family. Can I ask, as a man?
Oh, gee, here we go.
I was like, "Ooh, I'm glad this question ain't coming to me."
Can I ask? I mean, I'm going to flip it, obviously, but I'm interested to know, because we talk a lot about, the negative men, so to speak, within the society that don't fit the bill as to what we see a man as being, right? Is that honestly a really heavy burden, the expectations of being a man, a husband? I think a lot of times women don't understand how heavy that is for men. I think we consider how heavy it is to be a shabby and a woman ain't no joke. Try to walk in some heels, I'm gonna tell you. I'm making jest of it, but being a woman is rough. And I think we get it because, it's often, the light is put on it so often, the difficulties of what women have to deal with and having to wear so many hats. But I wonder if we really understand, how difficult and how heavy the responsibility of expectation is for men. And a lot of people don't understand. A lot of our men are bowing under that expectation.
I agree.
So what do you feel about that? How do you see that, for you? I think people are saying you're not supposed to question it. It's what men do. It's always been that for centuries. Yeah. Men are supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be the pillar of strength. You don't get to cry. You don't get to be emotional. You just kind of deal with it and shut up about it.
You have to be the breadwinner. You have to at least, not have to, but for most expectations, you make more.
Yeah.
At least you make more, or you provide, or you're the end breadwinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And then heavy. I know. And then for other households, you're supposed to be, this person that leads your family to Christ, or to make sure that, they're under certain following of rules and morality and all of that, and then you're supposed to be this strong person for your wife when she is needing of that strong arm. Is it difficult? And then when do you have an opportunity to just kind of meld into yourself emotionally?
It's heavy, and the reason why it's heavy is because society places a lot of
pressure. Let's just say what it
pressure,
is.
just what being a man is all about,
Right.
You hear that there's not much men left. You hear that they're either in jail or they're on the other side, or
Right.
they're even married.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and you got men that we're not perfect. We're just we're human, so we're gonna fail in some areas, but trying to meet the expectation of all areas, because society puts so much emphasis on these areas, trying to fulfill all these areas is so much pressure. And here's the thing, it's and with that added pressure, like in my experiences, I find that the little things don't really matter. When I say little things don't matter, they're not noticed or they're not seen.
Such as what, for example?
For example, the calls every day. How's your day going? I cleaned the kitchen for you because I know you're tired. Let me rub your feet. No, it's we need to go on the vacations. It's the amount of money spent. It's like the big things are what matters now.
Yeah. Well, what's being emphasized is not that the other things don't matter, but maybe they're not being seen.
Right.
The way that I just read an interesting article about that not too long ago, and this woman was talking about her first marriage versus her second marriage. In her first marriage, she went for the guy that was amazing and whisked her off and brought her flowers home and all these things. And then in her second marriage, she kind of felt like everything was falling short, and she realized, but that's the man, and I'm not saying all men like that do this, but that's the man that got up and left. And the man that is here and is my husband is the man that calls me every day to see how I'm doing and feels that his, role is to stay in bed with me and the kids on a Sunday and have our morning and to work hard to help provide for our family and make sure we have stability. But a lot of women aren't seeing that as a quote unquote real man. Or if we do see it as a real man, we're not excited enough by it. We want him to add to those things. Yeah. And if we step back and look at it, and I think that part of this entire conversation and part of, the whole conversation about relationships and love is we get from, you've talked about it before, from the songs we listen to, from the things we read, we get these expectations. Well, marriage is totally different, even to what it was 100 years ago.
Absolutely.
What we need out of marriage is a different thing. Where women are is a completely different place, right? And we have to be able to take that into account and stop, putting all this emphasis on the relationship being the only thing. That's not the society we live in anymore. And I think we all need to sit back and re-examine our roles. And in some ways that's scary, right? Because that's like, well, if I don't, I always say, and I said this last time, I don't need to be with my husband. I want to be with my husband. And that's a relationship I want to be in, is one where I want to be with the other person. But that's also a scary and destabilizing place to be, because then our ego or our survival mechanism starts screaming, what if the other person doesn't need me? What if I'm not needed? They can get up and walk away. They can cheat. They can leave. They can whatever. So I think we really have to take a step back and look at it and say, okay, is it okay not to be needed? Is it okay to be in a relationship where the basis is having a healthy relationship where you want that partner and that companion in your life? Is that enough? And if not, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but it also does set us up for things like codependency, for things like putting too much responsibility on the other person, for things like taking too much from the other person.
Wow. And
sorry, that was a lot.
but it's true. And I think it's stuff that we absolutely need to consider, because it's what it is. It is really just what it is. If you're just now tuning in, this is Love Jones on Global 99.5. Alexis Bethel is here, Mikey is, and Candy is in with you as well. And we're touching on so much stuff today, and I love Tuesdays for that reason. We just get to dabble into so much stuff, but it's always stuff that is to the heart of where we need to be in reference to loving yourself and allowing that love for yourself branching out into the love that you have for your children, for your spouse, you know, for the passions that exist within your life. And that's some of the stuff that we're talking about today. You know, the thing about it is, and we just talked about roles that you're typecast for. For example, for me, you know, I was talking to a friend yesterday and we were like, we're both really strong personalities. And I get that. I'll be the first to admit it. I tell any guy that's going to come up to the plate, before you swing that bat, let me just let you know the rules of engagement, right? Listen, I'm a strong personality. I don't like French tips. I like wild color nails. I like, you know what I'm saying? I don't do things necessarily within the box. I like to be who I am. And, you know, that kind of comes over, right? You know, and sometimes that comes with like a ball of laughter, that comes with dimples, that comes with that stuff, but there's a really heavy side of who I am as well. And you know, I don't like to use the word baggage, but I've got some Louis Vuitton, some Gucci, I got some Nike along with me. Yeah, I've got some stuff. And you know, I'm thankful for those things because they help build character and they help me to be who I am. But I also realize that it is a hard work in progress. And sometimes it's hard for me to be in the room with myself with so much stuff. So I said to her, and we were talking, and I was like, I wonder if there's really a man alive that could deal with so much pressure. You know, because it's a lot. And I think as people, I wouldn't say as far as women, but there are a lot of women that feel that way. But I think as people, we want to be paired with people that can take us.
Sure.
You know, for everything it is. I want to be able to get naked with you. And I don't just mean stretch marks and hanging boobs and stuff. I want to be naked. I want to be vulnerable with you. I want to be able to say, I'm tired. I'm weak. I want to say that I feel hurt by things. I want to be able to be that place. And I want you to just open your arms and just take me.
Yeah.
I want to be able to lay it at your feet. And I know it's a lot for anybody, man or woman alike. But I think we all need to feel like we can rest easy with someone. Just put it all there. And that's hard to find.
Yeah.
And that's hard to find. And the question that I had, we asked each other yesterday, is that plausible to expect that from someone? You know what I mean? Is that fair to want to expect someone to be here's all my ish. Just you got ish too, but yeah, that's my stuff. I just need you to kind of hold on to that. Is that fair? Or does that add to the weight that we're talking about that women have of men?
So something's coming. He's like, oh my God, how do I answer that?
I mean, I'm curious to know, you know, what we think, but the listening public as well, because this is stuff people are going through every day.
Yeah.
You know, some people have lighter stuff where they've just got intrusive parents that kind of just are in their marriage or in their relationship.
Yeah.
And then other people have where they've been in abusive relationships or they've seen their parents go through some really nasty ish. And it's not painted the greatest picture of how you're supposed to function as someone in a couple relationship. So we gauge the difficulty of who people are in reference to their life experiences.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess the question just is it fair to have those expectations, or is a part of self-love just kind of bearing that burden on your own? How does it work?
So the first thing that came up for me, and I'm obsessed with quotes, but this quote came to mind. I'm just going to read it short. It says, "Despite how open, peaceful, and loving you attempt to be, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves."
You know what? And that kind of.
I'm going to need you to just send that to 812. 1787. No, that's a big one.
No, because listen, when you were talking, right, and I was listening, and I'm like, when you were asking if someone can take your pressure,
Yeah.
to me, it went back to how do you see yourself? Like, do you see yourself as a lot to handle?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. There
You
goes
know-
that.
I think the thing that stood out to me when you were talking, there were a few things, but one of them was this idea of like sometimes I don't want to be in the room with myself, right?
Yeah.
We all carry a lot, some more than others, right? But what was coming up for me is, we also have to be willing to do the work on ourselves. We cannot simply expect somebody else to take our weight and bear our weight if we're not willing to start to unload that burden on ourselves.
Right.
And so, even I think about it and I think about when you're saying I'm a big, bold, strong personality. So am I. Like I'm a lot.
A lot to take, right? I'm a lot for anybody to take on, right?
I'm a lot, but that's okay,
Mhm.
right? Because the person at this point, now that I'm paired with in my marriage, respects and loves that side of me. He doesn't want to be with a quiet girl that whatever. There's nothing
wouldn't
wrong with
work.
quiet girls, right? Nothing at all. But my fire is what he loves, right? And so I think it is about finding that right person, but at the same time, God knows I carry my stuff. I see a therapist.
Right.
I am sorting that stuff out on my own, and it's a lifelong process. There's nothing quote unquote wrong right now.
Mhm.
But the point is that I'm not expecting him to just take all of that on. I can't sit there and cry to him every single night for the rest of my life or whatever. Not that I'm doing that anyway. But I have to have an outlet for my own stuff where I'm sorting through some of those deeper things. And we all have deeper things. It doesn't mean you have to go see a therapist or whatever, but we have to have other outlets where we can work on ourselves, where we're not expecting that person to take, for lack of a better word, the weight of us on their shoulders, right? We have to be, like you said, you're like, God, it's a work in progress. It is. It's a lifelong. It's many lives long.
Yes.
Right. But we
Indeed.
have to be willing to commit to that work to truly be in a healthy relationship, because the second that we start putting all of that stuff on somebody else,
Mhm.
if it's heavy on us and it's our stuff, imagine how heavy that is for somebody else. They can carry some of it, but they can't carry all of it, and we can't expect them to.
Right. It isn't really so much expecting someone to carry it. I think, the conversation that we had was, for instance, you talked about the relationship between you and your husband, and at some point being able to say, listen, I'm on E. I'm kind of burned out right here for the moment. That may not always be the circumstance, but it is here and now.
Mhm.
And I just kind of need you to deal with this. You know what I mean? I dare say that there have been challenges within my life in having people within my life to be able to do that with.
Yeah.
Even in a relationship with my mother, a lot of times we switch roles. I was the mom and she was the kid. She would call me for advice and stuff that was going on in her marriage. I'm like, hello. It's kind of like me. I'm supposed to be calling you and you're supposed to be giving me this great wisdom. And, that's the way it's been in my own marital situation. I was the fortress of strength all the time.
Yeah.
And, I very rarely have places where they are my soft space to fall. And I want that, but typically being a fixer personality,
Yeah.
I'll admit it, I'm guilty. Being the fixer personality, I'm more attracted to and I'm paired with persons that need help themselves,
Yeah.
need help dealing with their own stuff, and that typically that works in the opposite for me needing
Exactly.
some place to fall, because I am now creating a nest where I'm again the soft space to fall.
Yeah.
And here we go. And I talk with a lot of people that tend to be that person, and a lot of times it is men and a lot of times it's women. So there's nothing to say that it's either more women or more men, but it is a difficult task of balancing what someone else needs from you
Yeah.
and what you need of yourself.
Definitely. And I think, if we're, you have one of those personalities you're going to attract people
Mm-hmm.
who need a safe space and who need a shoulder and who need an ear.
And I love it though. I thrive off of it. If a friend didn't call me today and say, girl, I need your help with something, I'd feel like I'm just twiddling my fingers. It's who I am,
Yeah.
but it drives me crazy same time.
Well, the thing is, it sounds like there's part of it that feeds you.
Mhm.
And we all, I think all three of us feel that way, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it feeds us to have people, right? When we feel like we're helping,
Yeah.
then that fills our heart.
It does.
But at the same time, you have to ask, where's the boundary
Mhm.
in, is it starting to detract? Is it starting to take away? And if you're attracting those sorts of people into your life, especially in a romantic relationship,
Mhm.
and then you have to ask yourself within a romantic relationship, are you even opening yourself up to? A lot of times when we're the strong person and we're the fixer and we're the doer and we're the
we don't want a
giver.
strong one.
right? What happens is, tell me if this rings a bell with you. It's like, well, and I know it does because we were just sitting here talking about vacation and about like the ability of pre-recording a show, right? And you're like, well, no, I have to be there. Right? So the question comes, do you even open up a space? Do you even allow yourself to give some of that to other people?
As we wait.
I want to,
Yeah.
and I think that's a challenge. I want it so bad, but that it's the fear.
Yeah.
Of
Ding. Wow, just had a light bulb. Hey, just hate when that happens. It's that fear of, there we go. Don't you love when that happens? I know it's the light above my head. It's the fear of, you're so busy, and I've always been busy juggling all of the balls in the air. The fear is if I either stop, everything falls, or if I turn it over to somebody else, they'll let one or two drop. And I just feel like you can't, because one of the balls is my children. One of the balls is my passion for relationships and helping people. Another ball is my health. And another ball is my family. So I've got all of these different things, my friends, and building my relationships and trying to help them build their endeavors. So I've got all of this stuff juggling. And I'm afraid that someone doesn't know how to juggle it like I do. Like,
Yeah.
it's scary. You want them to, but you don't know if they can. And when you've been in a situation so often where so many times you've tried it once or twice and they've let everything go to hell when you've turned it over. So now you're like, I can't do that again. So the very thing that you need so badly, you fear the most.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's a rough place to be.
And it's also about kind of, tuning into your intuition and who it is that you're with, right? Like I can look, hindsight's 20/20, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but I can look back at times that I've passed things over to people in intimate relationships or other and been like, oh, hell no. Like,
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
I
we're
thinking,
thinking.
right? Like I could have seen that one coming, right?
Yeah. But you want to test it. You want to see.
But being in love and being in a healthy relationship, it's a risk.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Like love is risking yourself. True love is risking yourself, and it's risking yourself to fall flat on your face. It's risking yourself for, God forbid, for something to happen to the other person and they're not there. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Mhm.
And, and I get those fears. Like sometimes, my mind goes, it's like I catastrophize and my mind goes like, what if something happens to David, And I think we all go there sometimes, but that, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, that's what being in a healthy relationship is risking yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, Mike, I see the hamster.
yeah,
Running in your head.
I understand
What's going
what
on
Lex
over
is
there?
saying, but it's no but. It's just that when you talk about risking yourself, that means opening up yourself, and
Mhm.
not much people are willing to do that.
No.
Maybe because of past experiences,
Yeah.
maybe because whatever reason, but I don't find much people are willing to open up themselves completely
Yeah.
or enough to experience or to take the risk to
Yeah.
feel or to experience true love.
But the way I see it is, I think with everything, it's like when you go to swim, right? First, you kind of put your feet in to see, hey, I'm going to check the
Exactly.
temperature here. And then you let it and then you kind of walk a little bit and you go deeper. I think that's the way that love is meant to work. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but they just want to leave their toes in and
And that's the problem. But then
you
you
know.
can't say that you're fully looking for what true love is. If, like Alexa says, you're not willing to risk it. It's what it is. Like anything, it's a risk. And the thing is, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah.
And so that's why I haven't given up. I still feel that it's worth it.
So what
Yeah.
about this lady that wrote in yesterday? As far as, because we're talking about risk.
And I think a lot of it that we've talked about, and that's why I've opened the conversation so broadly. I think a lot of it is, I think we tend to just put abuse over here. But a lot of it and the coping of and dealing with those things and being in such a position, it's because we didn't learn how to do these other things that we've been talking about. We didn't learn how to find that balance within ourselves. And that's why I opened the conversation to all of those things
Yeah.
to get right back there, because you've got to learn those things so that you, if put in such a position, you know how to deal, and at this point, there is a decision to be made. We talked about it yesterday. The love that you have for yourself is the thing that keeps you safe in harbor. No matter what storms come, you know that no matter how your boat drifts, there's a firm rope that is tied in safe to harbor, and that's the love of yourself. And it keeps you strong in that. Now, if you don't have that, your rope gets loose and you're out drifting and aimlessly sometimes, and that's where she is. But she found her rope and she's now tied it, and she's trying to strengthen that. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the more that we talk, I think in this particular situation, in order to strengthen that, she's going to have to allow perhaps him to go. And what I mean by that is, perhaps in order for you to realize and see that change has happened, you have to work on you. I think you deserve it after all of this time. And the thing about true love is this: it works in duality. And if he truly loves you, he'll understand that he has hurt you. He understands that you need this time, and he'll allow you the space to do so.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the ways we say, how do you test change? I think that's an excellent way to do so.
Yeah.
And I think you've earned it.
Because the thing about it, I'm thinking that
You've earned it.
even if she decides to, leave her husband, and she doesn't work on herself, she's probably going to attract the same person in another relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that her marriage doesn't have. We've seen people come back from some really rough times in order to make the most fantastic relationships. But I think that fear of, he's told her for so long, and that was one of the things she said, that no one else will want you. No one else, and especially now with the scars that
told her that?
I've been, that's
So it's the
typically,
physical and the
Yes.
emotional,
It's very
mental.
emotional.
that's typically
yeah.
the way that it works. For someone to keep you bound in a situation such as this, I have to weaken you in order for you to see me more strong. Unfortunately, that's the way it
It's
works.
just hard looking at that person in a different light.
I love this one. It says, so many years of education, yet nobody ever taught us how to love ourselves and why it's so important. Right? My God.
My gosh.
Yeah, I got years in school, and I learned this stuff
I need
far
to
late
go
on.
back.
I learned this stuff far too late in life. But, that's just my opinion with that. I think the only way that you know for sure that you're not continuing to stay with him out of fear is if you release yourself from it.
If you release the grip. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, you're still under that. And that mental prison, we talked about that. I said that maximum security prisons that have been built by man are not nowhere near as fortified and strong as the mental prisons that we build for ourselves.
Yeah.
And right now, that's what she's existing in. Free yourself from that and release yourself from the situation. And I guarantee the wings that you will sprout.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm telling you. And if you see real change and that's something that you decide, at least you know that you have built that strength within yourself, that if it does happen, now you know that you can stand on your own two legs.
Yeah.
You know that you can exist outside of him and your marriage, and you can walk away. And he knows too. And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
He also will
Exactly.
know this woman can do it on her own. She knows now that she can do it on her own. Because for change to happen in your relationship, the change has to not only be within yourself and the way that you see you and this other person, the person has to change themselves. So I think that nothing could be better for your relationship than for you to take some time out to continue to build on you. And if he lets that process happen the way it does, then perhaps you can say, hey, he is making some changes and he is doing something different. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I so have to agree with that. I think the thing that's kind of, it's not holding me back, but I mean, I can feel the fear of doing that,
Yeah.
right? Like I can literally feel it in my chest, how scary that is. And, you know, that deep fear of, well, what if it's not real and I've built my life with this person, I've been with this person and there are good things, but then what if I'm not enough and I'm really not good enough and I really can't find somebody else? I mean, there's so much wrapped up into it, but at the same time, you know, I always ask myself when I'm in a situation, because to say that I am somebody who has lived like not through, by fear, by anxiety, ruling my life. I mean, it's an understatement until very recently, until I really started doing this work on myself. And, you know, I finally started having to ask myself, what's the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? And I have to keep going down that train. So, you know, I don't know her situation exactly. I don't pretend to know it. So I'm kind of making this up, but say she says, okay, I'm gonna see where it goes, and say he hits her one more time, she says, okay, I'm leaving. Well, then what? Okay, then I'm not married anymore and I'm having to rebuild myself and I'm having to maybe go out and find another job or do whatever. Okay, then what? Well, I'm really unhappy for 6 months or a year or whatever it is, and this work is really hard that I'm doing on myself and all these things. Okay, and then what? And what we realize is that while it can be an incredibly challenging or even painful process, it's not going to destroy us.
Right.
And I think that once we realize that these things cannot destroy us, it gives us the freedom, because once you come out of a situation like that, if it comes to that place, everything else opens up. Everything in life opens up. And I think that that's the hardest part, is we're always focusing on what we're going to lose. We don't focus on what we
we'll
stand to gain.
Exactly. And I think the same can be said for most of the intimate relationships that we've been in through our life. We tend to think about, if this person leaves or if I leave them, this is what will be taken away from my life. This is what's gone. But if it's not working and you're not gaining the things that you need in this relationship as a healthy one, what are the possibilities that you can now get if they're not there?
Yeah.
If your hand is closed, nothing can come inside of that hand. But if your hand is open, so much can come within your hands, and your hand is free to catch things and opportunities as they come your way. And it's about the perception of things that we need to start changing our mind space.
100%.
And I think that's the biggest part of loving yourself, changing the way that you see yourself. And a lot of times the way that you see yourself and changing that changes the way that everybody else sees you as well.
100%.
So I'm just hoping that she is listening. You know, I wrote her and told her to listen in today as a secondary part. And I'm hoping that you are listening and you understand that we're all here and we're not coming from a place of judgment, but truly from people that want you to be well, do well, and have well things within your life. And it's not to have a lack of respect for your relationship or your marriage, but it's trying to build you to have that equally, if not more so, respect for yourself. And then you would say you have children. What are you teaching them? Your responsibility as a parent is complex, and it is something that is built with expectations. And so you have to find that strength for yourself, guaranteed. But until they can garner the strength for themselves as adults, that is on you as well. So what do you teach your daughters? What do you teach your sons? Is it okay to hit? Are you going to continue this cycle? Are you going to start a new one?
Yeah.
It's important. You know what I mean? And you can be the change that is so awesome for not just yourselves. You open a new door for your kids as well. Because if you lived in fear, I can only imagine what they've lived with as well, seeing you live in that, and they themselves worrying about his hand coming to them. So you have an opportunity to bring light, not just into your own life, but into theirs as well. And how good will you feel when you see that light shining? How good is it going to be?
Yeah.
Think about that and use that as a source of strength. You know what I mean? And so I just encourage you today, and please let us know how things turn out. We love to hear these parts of it to help, but we always love to hear how you're doing after.
Yeah.
So let us know. What do you say? You're over there looking all profound, like
No,
you should be on a dollar bill or something.
I get mesmerized when you guys are talking, I just, So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you tell her, let us know, how it goes. I mean, I just can't imagine being in that situation, for 6 years.
I know it's a lot. And some people are looking at her in a particular way. But like I said yesterday, I'm not proud of it. But it happened to me before. And I used to be that kind of person that say, damn, you put your hand up, child. Would that be the last time I have cut some hot grits for you? I used to be that person. And then it happened. And then those things go in your mind. If I go, and then my kids, and then this and that and the next. And then you say, it's a one time, I'll get over it. And it didn't happen again, but at the same token, it could have.
Yeah.
And I always said that if it happened once, that would be it. You never can say never, and you never can judge, or you shouldn't judge other people, because you'd like to think that you know exactly what you do when faced with certain circumstances, but you cannot. You cannot until you're in it. So, sometimes it's just better to be still and quiet when it comes to other people's situations, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, be the inspiration, be the support, but never be the judge.
No, you cannot. Oh my goodness. I just feel like we've done so much today, and I love this. And someone in my chat will say, girlfriend, tell your I'm gonna need that quote, because yes, there were a couple of words, but there's some big words. So I'll read it again. Despite how open, peaceful, and loving you attempt to be, people can only meet you as deeply as they meet themselves. Whoa, diggity. What the sick? That calls for one of them. I'm wrapping my mind around that, and we expect people to just be so open, but if they've not been that open with themselves, if they've not dealt with their own trauma, if they've not come to face with their own stuff, how in the world can they help you or take on your stuff?
Yeah.
Man, listen, I can need a couple minutes with myself in that quote. Just kind of. We know this logically and intellectually, we know that, but now seeing it in black and white, and that's why I like to write. I think it's so different to see it, and then you read it again and again, and it really sinks in, and you're like, whoa, that's a powerful one. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. That's my quote for the day, child. As I put my status, change my status right quick. So if you had a nugget, or you had...
Oh gosh, I always forget about
the
this
nugget.
part. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't think of a nugget.
You've been dropping nuggets all day, so it's no thing. If you had a nugget, or there was a lesson that you've learned yourself, or one of the most important things that you think as it pertains to self-love and respect that would be helpful to somebody today, whether it's a man or a husband that's under immense pressure, whether it's a woman that has been abused, whether it's a person that just feels as if there's never going to be anybody to be able to take them on for all of the baggage they have. If there is one thing that you could put to the center of that, when it comes to loving yourself and being able to cope, what would that be?
Oh gosh, Mikey, you go first.
I
had to go first last time. It's like spinning right now,
Right? I mean, it's a lot, but I think we've covered so many powerful points today.
Yeah.
And we talk amongst ourselves and we hear these things, and even sitting here, I definitely had a light bulb moment. Like, the depth of the message that we had today is so immense for me, and I'm so appreciative of it. But I'm just curious to know, what did you get from it? If it's not a nugget, what were you able to pull out of today just by being here and listening? If you weren't able to apply it to other situations, what do you yourself pull away from this today?
Well, I mean, it's just simple, and it's something that we know, and it was just, we talked about, loving and being loved fully. We talk about it being a risk, taking the risk,
Right.
jumping in. And, for me, it's, what I gather is so important to do the work on yourself.
Yeah.
It's so important to, and the thing is, we read, we listen to advice. We take people's advice. But rarely do we look inside ourselves to find the answers. We always look because we feel we don't have the answers, or we think we don't have the answers. We go with the first thing that comes to us. And I just want to encourage people to look inside themselves, because you absolutely have all the answers you need for yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off of that. That's I swear it's what I was thinking before you said it.
But that just means that we're in sync. That's a good thing.
We're all on the same wavelength here. The reason that I love talking about self-love, the reason that I write about it, the reason that I speak about it, the reason that it's my, for lack of a better word, it's my religion, is because, first of all, I've been on the other side of it. It sucks. It doesn't mean I'm sitting up here perfect and every single day I'm like, yeah, I'm the great. It's not like that. But I think that what we see as we have these conversations is it sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. Where you stand with yourself not only influences, but it literally, dictates the people that you're going to allow in your life, the behavior you're going to allow in your life, the situations you're going to allow in your life. And if you want, we use this kind of elusive word happy, and I think we're happiness, and we decided on contentment last time.
There you go.
But if we truly want that, we set the tone for that. And I think that, like you said, Mikey, you have to be willing to face yourself. You have to be willing to face, there's another quote that comes to mind, and it said, I'm not trying to, I can't remember it exactly, but it said, I'm not trying to hide my dark side. I'm learning to love myself there. Right. And we're so like, oh my God, this is dark. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to see it. It's there. Learn to love that part of you, because if you can love that, you can love your whole self. And if you can love your whole self, you will not see these negative and toxic relationships even coming into your life.
Full. I'm hungry no more. I'm not hungry no more. I'm full. Marcia, Vanetta, LaFrance, a lot of people are listening and saying, wow, it's a really good show. It's that boost. It's that bit of food that I needed for the soul. And I love that. And I agree. Alexis is going to be on board at least one Tuesday every month. And we're going to do stuff on self-love. We're going to continue to enforce that, because I think it's what's missing globally. I think it's what's missing within our nation. I think it's just what's missing with us. We're the missing puzzle piece. We're all around looking for this person that completes us.
Yeah.
We're everywhere looking for it. You ever done a puzzle and that one bit of sky is missing? It drives you crazy. Jesus. You've got the whole Parisian thing laid out, and that one little bit of sky ruins the entire picture for you. And we tend to see other people as that bit of sky. Or we see this bit of education, this last degree. We see this car, this house, this fashion, these clothes, this makeup. We see all these pieces as that last piece that's going to complete. And even when we snap it into place, we don't feel good. It's because the piece that you're missing is you.
Yeah.
It's that loving of yourself and feeling compassionate with you, feeling, building yourself. You're the piece that's missing. You're the only piece that you need to complete your puzzle.
Yeah.
Because once you've got that, then you get to see all the puzzle pieces for as beautiful as they are. But unless you look at yourself as that piece that is the completion of the beginning and the end of all pictures, it will never be complete.
Yeah.
So that's my nugget.
Message.
Yeah. We have a thing. That's our thing. When we do, it's like when someone does it and you do that snap, that's our thing. Message. Yeah. So stop looking for the completion of yourself in everybody else and dig deep and it's in you. And once you find that you're okay with you, you're okay with everything else, and you find and you get to the place of not happy, but contentment. I like it. I like it a lot. Alexis, thank you so much.
Thank you
Let me
guys.
say, you always add a little something to our pot, child. Child, ain't no gumbo complete without Miss Alexis in the gumbo, child. Magic Mikey, as always, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you always coming to a place of vulnerability and opening yourself to give us the man's perspective. What's happening, man? Fluff over there, number one producer. Appreciate you, Nate. And it's been a pleasure for our Facebook watchers. I hope that you've enjoyed. We've enjoyed giving of self to you. And I hope that not just our writer, that you're able to find the strength that you need, but I know that there are people somewhere, everywhere that have needed this little bit today. And I hope that it boosts you to get to that next place and that next place and that next place, so that you can get to that place of contentment. That does it for us right here on Love Jones. We'll be back in with you tomorrow. It's going to be a wow Wednesday. Have a great one, but keep it right here. More great music is most definitely on the way. But in the words of D, since he's not here, we'll say it for him. What do you think?
You've been listening to Love Jones. Catch it weekdays at 11 a.m. on The Candy Shop. See you next time.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the host and guests and not